Happy Saturday, everybody. It is March 5th, 2011, and can't you see that spring is upon us? Yeah, what a joke, right? Well, it's coming, don't you worry. But what I want to talk to you guys about today is the fact that I keep seeing around us in the world a lot of reminders that there's going to be tragedy. I've had a lot of friends recently that have experienced their own sorts of tragedies um, on different levels, but no matter what level the tragedy is for them, it was kind of a life altering experience. Um, and a lot of people whoa, are really hitting hard times. It makes me think about, um, for me, my most recent, really, I guess, tragic experience was in last May when I found myself entering a period of time without a job. Um, the school that I was working for was being closed, and I really felt like that was the position that I needed to be in for the future, and it was just being taken away from me, and it really tested my faith, and actually in that time I found a song by Brandon Heath to be very inspirational called "Wait and See." So I'm gonna throw a little link right here for you to go check out that song because it was great. But I don't want to spend too much time on that. I want to talk about that tragedy though. Like in those moments, it really made me feel like just not sure of where I needed to be, where I was going, where God was leading me, but I knew that He was leading me. So that was the one piece of comfort that I had in it. So through a lot of prayer, this tragedy really became a triumph. I went from not having a job to getting a job that paid, I don't know, about 8 grand more than my previous one, and it had a better situation, a lot less stress. It was a promotion in many regards. So it went from a tragedy to a triumph. And that doesn't happen all the time. It doesn't happen for everyone in every situation. But that is consistently the way God's ultimate plan is for all of us. So from one situation to the next, it might not appear that you're going from tragedy to triumph. But if you can hold on and remain faithful in prayer and patient in this affliction and joyful in the hope of what's to come, you will actually make it to that future destination that God has you on the course to get to. The My favorite Bible story for moments like this takes us all the way back to Genesis, dealing with Joseph. And I know most all of you guys have heard the story of Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat. Well, that story, the main idea that I take from it is the idea that we are going to go through troubles, we're going to find ourselves in pits, and God's going to be there with us. Um, and I'd like to read a couple quick passages that really talk about this in Genesis chapter, let's see, Genesis chapter 37, verse 24. This is in the King James Version. And they took him and cast him into a pit, and the pit was empty. There was no water in it. So this was the situation that Joseph found himself in at the hands of his brothers, no less. He's in a pit, not even with water in there, it's empty. But the only thing he's got with him is the only thing he needs. You guessed it. He's got God. God's with him in that pit. God has allowed him to go into that pit. Why? Why would he let something happen? Like, doesn't he love Joseph? Doesn't he want Joseph to be happy? Doesn't he want him to be safe? There can't be safety in that pit. Well, we'll see. Um, then the brothers actually determined that rather than leaving him in that pit, they're going to decide to make a profit off of this. Judah decides that maybe they should sell him. So they sell him to some, I think it's Ishmaelites, who take him off to Egypt, and he becomes a slave there. And then he gets into some more issues that lead him into prison there. And once again, why is God allowing him to be in the prison? I mean, that can't be a good place for him. But you'll see that this is all for a purpose. In Genesis chapter 39, verse 21, it says, "But the Lord was with Joseph, and showed him mercy. So we're going to go through struggles. We're going to have these worldly, tragedies, things that we see as a tragedy. But if we can be patient and realize that God is with us through it, that we're going to make it through the end. Actually, Isaiah 43:2 from the New Living Translation tells us, when we go through deep waters, he will be with us. When we go through rivers of difficulty, we won't drown. When we walk through the fire of oppression, we won't be burned up. The flames won't consume us. So we just got to be patient. And going on in Genesis chapter 45, we see Joseph's realization of what God was leading him through that time of affliction and tribulation. He says in chapter 45, verse 5, "Now therefore be not grieved." He's talking to his brothers after he's reunited with them. "Nor angry with yourselves, that ye sold me hither, for God did send me before you to preserve life. For these 2 years hath the famine been in the land, and yet there are 5 years, in which there shall neither be earing nor harvest. And God sent me before you to preserve you a posterity in the earth, and to save your lives by a great deliverance." So what he's saying is, well, if you don't know the situation, Joseph now gone from that pit to being put at the second in command in all of Egypt. He has been in charge of making sure that the harvests are preserved during this time of overflow, so they would have food during their time of need. So he literally was in charge of saving the lives of all of Egypt. And in result, now he's saving the lives of his brother and their posterity, which means like their future generations. And that is all at the hand of God. So it continues. It says, "So now it was not you that sent me hither, but God, and he hath made me a father to Pharaoh, and lord of all his house, and a ruler throughout all the land of Egypt." So right now, Joseph, at that time, is the second in command. He's the big daddy amongst all non-Egyptians. I mean, he was a slave. But now he's running the show, okay? But it all started when he was in that pit, and he didn't give up. Right now, you might be in a pit. Your world might be just shaking. Your situation might not look like there's any hope in it. There's no water in that pit with you. There's no sign of life. But remember, if you've got Jesus, you got all that you'll need. You have a hope and a future. And God has promised in his word that he is working all things together for your good. So today on this Saturday, I want you to understand that there is a promise in that pit, and there is a God in that pit. And wherever you are, God is with you. All right? Just like he was with Joseph, the Lord is with you. So keep the faith and don't quit, you guys. Be blessed and be a blessing. Have a great weekend.